with former Browns Eric Metcalf, Leroy Horde, Mike Tomzak, Frank Stams, raw and unfiltered, found everywhere where you find your favorite podcasts, alumnimedianetwork.com. Our gentlemen, big, huge, come from behind win. Man, that showed a lot of character. Joe Flacco is making a lot of believers. They're going to start. I'm working on a song about Joe, because every great team or every, playoff or hopefully Super Bowl bound team needs a playoff. What do you guys say?
Well, let's get that one thing correct. His name is just Joe. So let's get that out of the way, and let's go national with that. Trademark it. There's only one Joe that's going to take this team to the playoffs and beyond. So I lobby for Joe.
I like it.
That's the name of the song? Or
no, but everyone says Joe Flacco, but drop the Flacco. It's just Joe. He deserves that. It's like LeBron or MJ. Joe deserves this at this point in time.
And you're like crazy right now.
Hey. No, I'm not crazy.
And you're having too much fun at that.
Let me ask you this question: is Joe so to be just Joe? He has to be the principal reason why the Browns are where they are now. Is he the principal reason, or would they have done this with DTR?
No, we don't know. We don't know if they would have done it with DTR, but we do know this: that they're not in the position to win these games without that damn defense.
Right. Oh,
without that defense, they're not even in position to win these games.
It's one of those situations where it almost seems like the defensive attitude has been, look, we're just going to go out and just go after and give our offense as many chances as possible. And the thing is that defensively, it almost like they feel comfortable doing that because Joe is the quarterback and he's been making plays. That being said, he is the reason why they got in that situation in the first place.
100%.
So he is saving.
He was aggressive.
So he is basically saving his own ass.
So because when you think about this, and technically the defense only gave up 3 points.
Right.
They only gave up 3 points. All them other picks were run down to the goal line and pick six and all that. They only gave up 3.
Mm-hmm. What impressed you most about the defense?
For me, it's Denzel being there. So with that in mind, that takes away one side of the field. Now you got Newsome, Emerson on the other side, matching up with people who are very good players. And so they make it hard on people because you're generally, when you talk about an offense, Mike knows this as a coordinator being on the offensive side ball, when you have 3 or 4 receivers, generally, when you start talking 2, 3, 4 receiver, they're better than 2, 3, 4 DB. Not in
Nobody gonna get over.
Not in this case. In this case, the DBs are better than 2, 3, 4 receiver. And so they're able to play aggressive like they want. Swartz sent a lot more blitzes this way. I think it was probably to put some people in lanes also for Justin Fields, but he sent a lot of blitzing this week also, which limited Justin Fields.
They just wanted to, it almost seemed like the whole game, they were working on one thing: shorten his clock.
Mm-hmm.
Shorten his clock. Because young quarterbacks that make quick decisions make bad decisions. And if you sit him back there, patting the ball, hell, we saw it on Monday night with Tennessee and playing that damn prevent defense and having that young quarterback just sitting there patting the ball. You're going to find somebody eventually. So what the Browns did was they say, nope, let's shrink that time. He may get us on a couple of runs, but if we get to him, he ain't going to be able to run because it's going to be too far. And that's how it played out.
Frank, I like their aggressiveness on defense. I mean, they didn't give up any explosive plays, really, per se.
As a first.
And they attacked. They tackled in bunches. They got to that play with Justin Fields on that old school, blocking down, trapping the end of the line of scrimmage, that quarterback sweep to the right. They nullified that after one decent run, but they run to the ball extremely well. They had that one injury that really hurt them. Number 90, I think, was he from last week? They had a defensive tackle that he was, but they surely didn't miss him. Plug and play. This team is a plug and play team that has a lot of momentum right now.
Yeah, just to build on that, Mike, I agree. You know what impresses me most is just these guys. They feel they can win every play, and that's important. I mean, when they got down there with their backs against the wall on that goal line, and then they stopped them first couple, put it in, I think, third. I mean, they were going the wrong way, on the goal line, and then of course, they get the first down penalty, which I thought was ridiculous on the pass interference. But then they still won a couple plays after that. But yeah, I mean, they just think, they just gotta, they just think they've got the talent to support it.
That's the most important thing, though. Like, if you want to talk about a deep unit, go look at that defense from the front four, the linebackers, into the secondary. That's a loaded group. And like Matt said earlier, you have 2-3 receivers. They got 2-3 DBs can lock them down. And then you put some pressure on them with 5 or 6, and you lock them down. That quarterback don't have time to just, look around and try to find somebody, because they locking them down in the secondary. And it kind of works hand in hand, right? If he looks up and ain't nobody open, that D-line and that front seven going to get to you.
Leroy, talk about the importance of having a deep unit.
As far as
on and off the field, right? I mean, you got to have depth. You got depth, number one. You got to
oh shit!
You got to be strong. And then
anyways,
oh shit!
That's raw and uncensored. That's why you're in the Dog Pound here with Leroy Hort, Frank Stamps, Mike Tomzak, and Eric Metcalf. Frank's always throwing out those buzz questions. It's hard to come up with the answer. And he stumped you, Leroy. He stumped you, buddy.
Gotcha, Leroy. Hey, so will they go to? So I said, is the team? Are they good? Now, don't crucify me. Now, I'm just offering some topics of conversation, because are the Browns good, or are they just opportunistic?
What's their record?
No, I agree. Who
cares? How you got there? At the end, at the end of the year, when you qualify for the playoffs, they're gonna say, "Oh, they 11-6, but they ain't that good."
No, you're right. That's stupid.
No, but I get the question though, because for me, there's been years where teams we know that we've played against, damn, they're in the playoffs. They ain't that good,
right?
We beat them, right? And we might not have made the playoffs that year. So that's a fair question, because I actually think when healthy, they're very good. They could
especially
be
on the defensive side of the ball. If you can run the ball and play defense, you got a chance every week.
Yeah, they can be very good when healthy. They haven't. They've been hit with the injury bug hard. But they have. But they're still maintaining, still being resilient. So for right now, they're a good team that's been hit, but they're opportunistic, right? Because they're taking advantage of situations. They're winning. They're winning these games they would have lost years ago.
Yeah, and let's look closely to last year. The game against the Jets and the Chargers, and there's another game in there that they fell short the last 2 minutes. But this year they win on a Hail Mary, drop pass or interception, if you will. They missed on they win on a missed field goal by San Francisco, and they win late in overtime against Indianapolis, right?
On the last second touchdown.
Yeah.
They win against who else last second? Pittsburgh field goal.
Right, but isn't that football though?
It is.
It's football. Like, we can all look at a whole bunch of teams and look at their record and how they won games, and we talk about Dallas and we talk about Miami. They haven't beaten any good teams. But listen, all you got to do is get there.
Right.
If you get there, Anything could happen. The only people that's going to be complaining at the end of the year are the people that say, man, we were this close to making the playoffs, but they ain't make it. They ain't got a chance.
Great point, Leroy. You know, I think maybe 3 times in the Super Bowl era, there were 3 times that wild card team has gone all the way to win the Super Bowl. And I think the Browns are one of those teams that keep on, you know, I talked about the plug and play, right?
Do we have to separate it though now? Because there's only one bye team?
To Leroy's point.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
tournament if you ain't in it.
Right.
Exactly.
Game win
you got a chance if you ain't in it. And guess what? Like, we talking about the injury bug and we talking about what happened. Man, football is such that the injury bug could hit anybody. Look what happened to San Francisco last. San Francisco been the best team in the NFL for the last 2 years. And they ain't won the Super Bowl because everybody getting hurt.
And Baltimore.
And Baltimore. Right. So, like, we can add up all these wins and we can say, oh, they're the best team in NFL and whatever. The best team don't always win. The Patriots were undefeated. Eli threw a ball on a helmet and they end up winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, things happen. That's why all you got to do is put all your efforts in getting there. If you get there, anything is possible. Anything can happen. You can start playing the game against the best team against Baltimore. Something happened and you end up running over them. It don't mean you that much better than them. It just means on that day, things went your way. And that's all you could hope for once you get to the playoffs.
That's right.
I tweeted something about that the other day because somebody was talking about Texas women's volleyball, who, by the way, 2-time back-to-back national champions now.
Oh, yeah. I loved going to women's volleyball games.
How's the Longhorns? How do you do the Longhorns thing?
This, buddy. And so somebody tweeted after we beat Wisconsin that Texas beat, don't look at my fingers, that Texas beat Wisconsin, and Wisconsin played badly, right? And Texas won the game. And it happens so often in sports that when a team loses, people say that this team played poorly.
Maybe they made you play poorly.
That's why
they made you play poorly.
No one ever talks about the fact that team made you play that way.
Right. Well, you know, this is a great point, and this is why people listen to In the Dog Pound, because it's, you know, you're getting that perspective, because it's easy to say they failed rather than talk about why one team succeeded. And I get it. You're right, and it's so much easier to do it like that. Let me ask you a question. Should we be concerned with Flacco's, he's throwing a lot of interceptions. That's got to catch up to you.
It looked like it was going to catch up. Here's the reason why you should worry about it, and here's the reason why you shouldn't. It's his nature to be a gunslinger, right? And so we all enjoy what Joe Flacco has done because of that fact. If you try to take that away from him, Joe Flacco is not Joe Flacco. And so you got to allow him to be who he is. That being said, I think they shrink the field too much. On every passing play, somebody needs to be going deep to soften up that secondary. And he's trying to make throws into windows that are not very big. And you watch that game, and you're like, there's nobody deeper than the safeties. And the safeties are sitting at 20 yards. You can't win a game like that. You got enough speed to get somebody there, and you might have to throw it even if you can't catch, just to keep the defense honest. In the second half, when they were playing catch-up, they started extending patterns down the field, and that created space in the intermediate routes. I would like them to start doing that sooner, because it looks so constricted in that first half, and Joe is being Joe. He gonna try to get it in there, and he gets in trouble. So you got to help him out.
And Mike, as a quarterback, I mean, through the lens, sees it different than all of us.
Right.
But what I think, and I'll let you touch on it in a second. But what I think that them short, quick passes were basically saying, "This is how we're going to run the ball today."
Yeah.
This is how we're going
because
we're not gonna turn around and hand it off too many times. We're just gonna try to throw quick passes. That's gonna be our running game today, and that's what I think Stefanski and they went in there with that kind of game plan. And so, like when we're talking about what you were just saying, Mike, speak to us on how you feel as far as the.
Yeah, it's part of their game plan. Obviously, an extension of the run. They got a little predictable, with those short passes and everything. And those cornerbacks started squatting on the guys, and there was had to be almost perfect throws to get in there. But go back to what Leroy said. Joe is a vertical down the field passer, and that one interception that he threw, they had 4 verticals. You guys might have seen the all 22 picture, but they had 4 verticals. He just did a poor read when he threw it because the corner was sloughing and playing halves on number 1 and number 2 receiver. And a quarterback of his stature and the quarterback with all his experience. Well, he did. He looked to the right and came back and trusted it, but that corner sloughed off so much. He should have went to number 1 vertically, like I would do to Michael Jackson all the time. Mm-hmm. And it's just film study. He probably kicked himself in the rear end when he went to the sideline. But to your point, guys, you start flooding zones with a 7 cut, with a 3 cut, with a crosser or something. But eventually they got to go ahead and do double posts with a crosser coming across the field, play action wise, even though they're not going to get vertically down the field that fast. I just think those type of routes are more comfortable for Joe right now. And, everyone's got film on this dude, right? Everyone's got film. So this is his 3rd game, right? So you're starting to see some things that are standing.
His 3rd decade. The hell you mean?
So did you guys?
Well, it's fresh. It's fresh, right? They cut the fruit. It's fresh.
So let me ask you guys this: when you were watching the game, did you start getting the same feeling I was? It's like, wow, these throws are really tight, like early, right? And you start seeing, and what you start seeing is, oh, I see what the defensive game plan is. When are we going to adjust? And it didn't happen until you were like down 13 points. But I just think to keep in mind is you got to throw one of those plays that you had in the second half in the first half, at least to keep them honest, because, the other thing you can do when they're playing those deep safeties is run the football. That wasn't happening for whatever reason. It was just
that offensive line was
it was right, slim pickings.
But they had but they were down to 1 starter on the offensive line.
No, I know.
I respect them not running it, and we'll talk about it later in the show. But this is a game where you don't want to try to run the ball either.
Right.
We'll talk about that. But let me tell you guys something. So I'm leaving. I have to leave the game early to go to the TV show because it's going to start immediately after the game. So I always walk, smoke a cigar on the way, listen to the crowd, whether I hear a yell or not through the stadium as I'm walking to the station. So
where's the station? How far you got to go?
About 8-9 blocks. Right. Long blocks though.
Do you walk or take a limo?
I walk. I gotta smoke.
Oh, okay.
I gotta calm the nerves.
Yeah.
And so
are people walking with?
Yeah, they're walking with me, talking to me. Yeah. I'm taking a couple pictures. Hey, I gotta go. Blah blah blah. But then I turn to a couple people and say, "Hey, the 4th quarter is about to start. Why are you leaving?" I'm tired of this shit. I hate the Browns. I hate the Browns. They do this to me all the time.
Hey, man.
And I kept asking people, and I kept hearing the same thing. I can't take this shit no more. Why do you do this to me?
They got me on the booze. Y'all know they got me. I'm like,
Hey, and then as we're walking, you hear the crowd roar, and everybody pulls out their phone trying to figure out what just happened. Yeah. And I didn't see anybody running back, but I know some people tried to run back and see if they could get in.
But here's the problem: at that point, you done dug your heels in. You can't go back. Right. You can't go back. You can't go back.
You done already quit.
But you know what? The funny thing is, when you watch sports, there was a football game on last night. It was the famous Toastery Bowl.
Oh,
and Old Dominion.
That's the comeback. Yep.
Old Dominion got up 28-0 in the first quarter and lost
and lost.
And lost. And as football players and guys who've been around sports our whole lives, this is why sports is incredible. It don't happen that often, but you can't tell me you ain't keeping your eyes glued on the TV because some shit about to go down, just in case. Or when you playing in a game, like you playing in a game and you getting stomped in the first quarter, and you're like, hey man, there's 3 quarters. We've done this before. Let's go, right? You ain't never, because you've been a part of it. You've had it happen to you. You've done it to other teams. And this is what makes sports incredible. So when that fourth quarter started, I know I was watching going, all we need is one play. All we need is one play. If we get one touchdown with about 7-8 minutes left, the defense going to do their thing.
Right.
And lo and behold, it happened.
You got action.
It happened. And that's, so while you got one hand on the bottle, you also know enough about sports that you can't get too liquored up because something about to go down. I know it. I can feel it. I joke like he gonna turn it around, and you just sit there just on pins and needles watching, and that's what sports is. Fans have a hard time with 2 things. One, accepting the fact that there's still a chance, and 2, when your team lose, saying that the other team was better.
Right. Like
it's always so, well, the officials, well, this, well, we had, no, the other team, they got pros too. They got a $30 million player too.
I'm talking to people about the whole situation. I'm like, all we need is a stop, get a play, which Joe and Amari made. And I said, now we got action. I said, here's the thing. Once the defense did their thing and stopped them before the 2-minute warning, I was like, people don't understand as we do that the mindset of the last drive is different when you're talking about a field goal wins it, a field goal tie it to send it to overtime.
Right.
You got to get a touchdown to win it.
Right.
Or a touchdown to tie it.
When you got a field goal to win, a field goal to win puts you in the most relaxed state of mind
because you can't lose.
Right.
You can't lose.
Right.
And
except for dugout. Except for dugout.
Right. Okay, you're not supposed to lose.
Right.
You have the ball, and all you need is a field goal with 2 minutes to go. The worst that should happen is you should play an extra quarter.
Correct.
Leroy, you mentioned earlier, the passing game, the importance of having a big window, things made of glass. Are you a little concerned that they may be trading Njoku, the tight end, anytime soon?
You can't think about that this year. He can't get traded this year.
Hey, is he gonna get traded by the end of the season?
He can't.
Right. Then who cares? Like they got 3 games that we know of for sure. Yeah. And then the playoffs. I don't care what happened to Njoku after that.
Hey, these already in the playoffs.
But right now, he about to make his first Pro Bowl because he might be one of the best receivers.
Well, yeah, because I noticed. The reason I'm concerned about a trade, because you know how they always talk up a player before they're, to increase his trade value.
Yeah. Trust me, I know. I've been traded twice. Trust me, I know. I've been traded twice.
They talk? Did they talk you up? Of course, Eric, you don't need any talking up. But did they talk you up before they traded?
Both times I was traded, I went to the Pro Bowl the year before.
Very nice.
But they traded me right after the Pro Bowl.
Did I tell you about when I was traded to the Browns, and we played when I got to the Browns during the season, we played San Diego.
We give up a washing machine like in
oh no, better than that. When we played the Chargers, and then a friend of mine on the other side was a guy named Bert Grossman. I don't know if you remember Bert. Played defensive end.
We're the same draft class.
Oh, the same what?
Draft class.
Oh no shit. Yeah. So you and I were in the same draft class.
Right.
So Bert was my roommate out at the Aloha Bowl. And when I showed up after the game to shake his hand, he said he was surprised. He said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "They traded for me." And without missing a beat, he said, "What'd they get? A bag of potato chips?" And I said, yeah, that's nice, Bert. You fuck. Yeah, that's nice. But he always had.
I would at least give
Wait.
up a couple of Krispy Kremes
Would they at least barbecue?
with jelly.
It's funny you say barbecue because that's what I'm thinking. The barbecue
got
bag
straight
of
legs.
potato.
He didn't even get ruffles.
Straight legs. He didn't even get the ones you could dip. The thin, everyday, regular that they throw when to get a sandwich at the deli that they throw in the little container.
And somebody already stepped on the bag.
He got a pickle. He got a pickle to go with that bag.
Yeah.
Mike, you probably were traded maybe once or twice. What was that experience like?
No, I was cut 4 times and fired 4 times. No matter how you look at it, it doesn't really give a shit. But you just got to find another team rather quickly, and
Yeah. Well, anyways,
it worked out very well. No, you're not digressing, Frank. But back to Leroy's point, about Njoku and everything. He might be the MVP of this team. After 14 games.
Listen. All these drives.
I don't know why.
All of these drives that have transpired at
Leroy,
the end
go
of
ahead.
all these games
Go ahead, Leroy.
always include Njoku.
And you know what? And I've been saying this as of late a lot. And so to answer your question, Frank, or to your point, you don't know why people are in love with him. It's because he's dropped a lot of balls. One of those players that if he's not involved, he doesn't seem focused.
Right.
But since Flacco has been there and the offense has kind of changed, he's been the focal point and he's been making plays.
Yeah.
A lot
you're a good point because, I remember anytime I would go to a new team or something, I would grab the money makers. I'd grab the guys that I could trust, the tight ends, the running backs, a receiver, a go-to guy, and say, hey, my man, I'm going to make you good today. I'm gonna highlight you. And you get your attention, right? You get your attention. Say, hey, this dude just telling me he's going to throw me a pill a few times today. And sure enough, those guys, once they get that momentum, there's a likeness. There's an affinity for one another, on their routes when they're coming out of their routes and things of that nature. And it just seems that they click pretty easily now. And along with Elijah Moore, I think Elijah Moore is another guy that Flacco or Joe kind of migrates towards.
Andrew Tillman.
Yep.
There you go.
A lot more guys are getting the opportunities.
He's spreading the ball around because he's able to go through all his reads. He's not rushing, and you know better than any of us, Mike, how it feels to be back there standing there.
To your point, the game's probably a lot slower for him than it is for DTR and the other quarterbacks.
Well, here's the other thing that you have to acknowledge. When you are a mobile quarterback, a quarterback that can do harm with his legs, they always use that as an option.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Flacco can't use that as an option. So he is going to be more committed to going through the progression and buying a little time to extend that. He's never really looking to run. And I think that in itself has probably helped Kevin Stefanski out because he has eliminated that portion of the offense as quarterback making a whole bunch of decisions that ain't got nothing to do with throwing the football, with handing off and reading the ends and all that. That part has been eliminated.
However,
although
we did go to that one trick play.
Yeah.
And luckily he was smart enough to find Kareem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could have been disastrous.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The touchdown pass to Coop, he was out of the pocket.
Yeah, but he's going to buy a little time. But there's a difference in buying time and the other guys run.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, let me ask you guys a question.
You look good, Mike. You look good tonight.
I'm looking better.
I'm looking at you, and you're you're
hey,
handsome.
Frank, where's that on the list?
The glasses. You're handsome. The glasses really look good.
Yeah. So let's move on to one thing. I'm going to go back because the ice is melting in my drink. I'm going to get back and chug it down. But let me ask you a question. I'm going to head out, but let me ask your opinion of Justin Fields. Do you think he's a franchise quarterback? Do you think he saw enough of him in the way he handled the poise of that game on Sunday?
I think he's a good quarterback.
The problem is that they have a terrible offense. right? It's a terrible offense. They have talent offensively, but it doesn't flow, right? It's just a whole bunch of plays being called, and you asking him to make plays without protection, without like they ran the ball some, and well, they got DJ Moore.
I said with an S.
Okay, yeah,
right, yeah.
But that's it. That's it.
Cole Kmet's average.
Let's also do this. Let's also do this. The same thing we do when it's our team, we're afraid to admit it. Okay? Maybe that defense forced him to play that way. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they got athletes on that front four and that front seven that can run his ass down. Okay? There ain't a whole bunch of teams that have that. He's been running, he's been able to have a substantial amount of rushing yards when things break down because he's more athletic than the defensive seven up front. Well, when he did that to the Browns, they were getting after it. And so while he may not have looked his best, he did make some plays. They got an average offensive scheme, and there's athletes on the defensive side of the ball that didn't allow him to do some of the things he's been able to do in the past.
Hey, Mike, does he have a future?
For me,
somewhere.
I'm not getting rid of him to draft one of these college guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not getting rid of him to draft one of these guys. If it were me, I would keep him, get Marvin Harrison.
Yep.
Because they're gonna have the first and around the fifth pick or something like that.
Yeah. But here's the problem, Matt. Matt, here's the problem. And this was told to me earlier today. The problem is not necessarily Justin Fields. The problem is his financial situation. So I'm not saying, huh?
How's that a problem?
Because in 2 years, you're going to have to decide to give him 40 or 50 million a year. And if you get a young quarterback, you got 4 or 5 more years.
Right.
So that's a big, now, I'm not saying Justin Fields can't be good, but in 2 years, you're going to have to pay him 40, 50 million. Is he that good?
You got to play him the going rate.
Right, exactly.
Look at this guy. Look at this guy.
And that doesn't look like that looks like some sort of gentleman's club. I know that upholstery. I've seen that upholstery a million times before.
I love you guys. My battery's running low. All right, my battery's real low.
You got
Mike, quickly, your prediction this week. And what do the Browns need to do to win?
It's at Houston.
Yeah.
And CJ Stroud. Whew.
We don't know.
Don't know.
He's on concussion protocol.
It's Case Keenum.
What was that? That looked like oh, wow. That you are in a gentleman's club.
I knew I saw glitter on his face.
No, I'm walking in church right now.
I knew I saw glitter on his face.
My prediction is, unfortunately, I'm going to take Houston. I've been doing the Browns, but I just think this game is one of those 30 to 28 type of scenarios.
Yeah, no, raw and unfiltered, baby. In the dog pound.
And Leroy, when you want to go deep, like you want depth, you got to get that blood flowing, man. You know what I mean? You got to go really down. You got to get on down. I love you guys. Keep on rolling.
All right. Thanks. Bye, Mike.
See you, boys.
Browns Nation, you're listening to In the Dog Pound, Week 15, previewing Houston Texans, reviewing Chicago Bears. Browns are 9-5.
There's Mike. You heard him yelling in the back. There's Mike. Here he came back.
Your host, Eric Metcalf, Leroy Horde, Frank Stams. So you talked about it, Matt, earlier. You said running the ball. It's probably not in the formula, or you don't see it in the formula this week versus the Texans.
They got a very active.
It hasn't been in the formula since Flacco has been the starter. But then when you look at the fact that Houston only gives up 93 yards rushing a game, I think Stefanski goes in there and said, all right, we might pass it 60.
Well, it also here, Matt, but I don't want them to be deterred from trying.
Well, 100%.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Or finding creative ways to accomplish the same thing like they tried to do last week.
The only problem is trying to do that with a makeshift line is hard.
But
as we all know.
But it's you got to put some pressure on the run game, because you got to get the offensive line, whoever's playing, to get a little bit of comfort into the flow of the game. And you do that with the run. If you got them on their heels, backing up, pass protecting for a whole game, you ain't doing them no favors either.
Of course.
Now, I always wonder, I comment on what the Browns should do as far as pressuring the deep portion of the field. But I'm wondering if they see this offensive line and they're worried about Flacco sitting back there for them to get that deep.
Right.
And so I can be honest about that I'm watching the game and I know why they're doing what they're doing, but at the same time, it seemed like they had enough time to then extend the field a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see how they lock them up early, how much time they have, and how the offense adjusts to try to make plays down the field and move the ball.
And just to build on that, and that's an excellent point. So I look for Houston. If Houston, they're at home. They're having a good season. It doesn't matter, as far as your defensive perspective, doesn't matter whether Stroud's going to play or not. What's your game plan? And it's going to tell me a lot if they think they're better than the Browns, because they'll line up and they'll go man and they'll bring pressure. And to me, that's the formula to beat Flacco. It's just to come after him, man up, and just come after him, and come after him.
Yeah,
and
but they got guys. But here's the problem, and here's the wild card here. His favorite receiver is Njoku. Ain't a linebacker on this planet could cover Njoku.
And wait, and not to mention, Houston's terrible against covering the tight end.
Yeah,
they're at the bottom.
Their linebackers can't cover,
and they're in the bottom as far as the pass defense.
That might be why they only give up 93 yards.
Well, I'm gonna be a Njoku believer after this game. I'm gonna be. I will be able. Njoku believer because it sounds like if they're bad against the tight end, and we've got an all-pro tight end, Njoku should get a ton of targets. He should have a great game on Sunday.
But here's the other thing, though,
if
Mike,
he does, I'll never badmouth the guy again.
Here's
not that I have in the past.
Here's what the other thing you have to understand is.
Like you have.
No, I haven't.
The adjustment they may make is put a safety on him and go like nickel. If they do that, you have to run the football. You just have to.
But even if you do that, I think Njoku's big enough where they can.
Yes, he is a move.
All you gotta do is go box him out.
Right. Yeah, I got you.
So I'm looking. If obviously Stefanski knows what we know, is that they're
are we to the
Ozzy,
point now?
when you talk about boxing out, Ozzy would always talk about the size of one's booty. Now,
right.
Does Njoku have the booty size?
He's just massive, dude. He's just mad. He got a big frame.
To box out. I'm specifically talking about the booty.
He said it's not your beauty, it's your booty.
But I would say that if they do that, you got to run the ball even more.
Right.
And I think that's the cat and mouse game they're gonna play. And like me personally, I think it's gonna be a big test for this offensive line, because if they're gonna go man up across the board, right? That means they're gonna go man up, they're gonna have 4 or 5 pass defenders, and that means they're gonna come after you with 5 or 6. You got to be able to block that.
I'm curious as to whether Stingley's gonna travel with Amari.
Why would he try? But see, that's the thing.
He's their best DB. I mean, just
I know, but the thing about Amari is You know who he reminds me of? Who was the Florida State receiver from that went to Arizona?
Anquan
Bolden. Everybody made a big deal about him not getting paid because he never had any separation. But the dude always caught the ball, right? And that's Amari's thing is he's a great route runner. He catches the ball, right? But you got other guys that can actually beat you running routes.
You do.
And so if they follow him with their best receiver, I don't know if them other guys could cover.
And I get that, but here's the thing. You have guys who can beat those 2, 3, 4 DBs. However, none of those guys have had big games.
Right. Yep.
Amari
They've had a couple of catches. Amari gonna get his.
He's had 100-yard games, a bunch of them.
Right.
Njoku's had a 100-yard game. So that's going to be their primary focus when we're talking about the pass game. Now, they know Flacco will spread it out. But when we're talking about stopping the pass game, they know it's going to be those two.
Right.
And so that's what I'm talking about. I don't know if they'll travel him or not. If they don't travel him, he should beat the brakes off whoever's over there.
Right. But
it's last question.
Yeah. Go ahead, Frank.
I was going to say last question. I mean, I know it's premature, but I think Stefanski should be in the conversation for Coach of the Year. I'm not going to say I'm not going to say he's hands down winning it, but he's definitely should be in that conversation.
Here's the thing, Frank. Right? We can get on coaches for having bad offensive, systems or do a bad job of coaching. What do you say to a guy who has had some success with every quarterback that has played for the Browns? Right? Some success. I mean, at some point, we have to give him.
Well, I've got to push back on that because, the team prior to this year was going the wrong way. Each year, each of his first 3 years, the team was worse. And this year, he's turned it around.
He went to the playoffs. His first year.
I know. His first year, they went to the playoffs. The next year, they didn't make it.
Did that have to do with
the team was on a downward trajectory.
Or playing with a quarterback that had a broke arm damn near.
Well, whatever the reason. I mean,
you have to put it in context, though, Frank. Like, you can't at the end of every season just look at the record and say they were better or worse. Because I promise you, the outcomes of these games are not as good as some of the years they had in the last couple of years. But they're winning more games.
I appreciate you. I appreciate that. And I'm a big believer in context. Absolutely. But when I look at games in the past, like that Jets game, what was it, last year or 2 years ago, where they're a 99.9% chance to win the game and they lose it with 2.5, that goes right on coaching.
And who was the quarterback? Who was the quarterback?
Was that Baker?
No, no, on the other team.
Oh, I don't know.
It was Flacco.
Oh, the quarterback on the other. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah, he was the last. Right. Yeah.
So I get what you're saying. And I hate this because I ask this question before every season down here and up in Cleveland. Can you have a worse record but be a better team next year? And I think people don't, and when you only talk about record, you don't take that and put it into context, right? What this team is now is far ahead, better than any team that Kevin Stefanski has had, partly because of how that defense is playing and how aggressive they've been all year. And two, the fact that they've been able to win football games now with their fourth quarterback and a guy that was at home playing with his kids and has played the last 3 weeks, right? We can't underestimate. That's not an easy thing to do.
Hey, and I think the maturity level of your core players has changed.
Yeah, I agree.
In the last couple of years,
you know who should get an assist? So if they give Kevin Stefanski, they better go give Schwartz like a leg or something, a leg off the trophy, because the way the attitude has changed on the defense
Yes.
If you look across the board, the attitude has changed over there too. The whole attitude of the whole team has changed, but it started when you look at Callahan, what he's doing with that offensive line with all the replacements and moving around of guys he's had to do. When you look at how much better that defense looks with basically the same players, right? Kevin Stefanski is going to get all the credit for that. But they added some guys that have changed the attitude of the various units on that team. And that's part of the reason why they look so much better.
Right. And even when you're talking about this decimated offensive line, they got guys moving all over the place.
Right.
But in drafting or signing these guys, they obviously knew that they could swing.
Right.
They could swing different
positions. We always had a couple of guards that could play center, tackles play left tackle, right tackle.
Able to stay in a groove. That's what they're able to still move because everybody knows what they're doing. They're in tune with what was going on with the game plan, how they're supposed to block offensively, whether it be a run or a pass. They're in tune because everybody's been there, and they're more mature than they've been before. Because in years past, these guys are like, fuck it.
Right. Well, they're going to need it. They're going to need it on the road this week because, as you guys know, they've played much better at home. They're on the road to Houston. Houston's got a quality team.
Houston plays a lot like the Browns.
They do.
Very physical, very aggressive. They're like they play hard on both sides of the ball. So if anything, I would say the Browns have to be ready to get some of what they've been putting on teams returned to them.
What's your pick and how and what? What's your pick and why this week?
I'm gonna go 20-13, right, Browns, because I think that they're gonna be able to shut their offense down a great deal. The defense is gonna be able to come. I don't know if the offense is gonna be able to run away with it because their defense is pretty good too. But I hope that we can create some mismatches because I do see that there's some areas of that defense. If you have the right players to exploit it, it's going to be a long day. And Njoku might have to have himself a day.
I got Browns 23-17. I think they'll be able to.
Just moved it up from what I said.
That's exactly where I've been the whole time. But you're right. I think they can both score a little more than you think. and so yeah, I think our defense will play good football on the road, but I think they'll still make some plays.
Right.
You know, our offense will make some plays in the passing game that will get us a lead. We'll make some points. I mean, of course, we got Dustin Hopkins who's making field goals. So
he can kick 50-yard field goals. He might miss an extra point though.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a little worried for the Browns this week. Yeah, defense hasn't played well on the road. You know, I'm not saying I'm not saying they're a bad defense. I'm just saying that's the trend. I don't really like to fight the trend.
Is there anybody who's really good on defense? I mean, there's a lot of teams that play poorly on the road. Like, let's not. I mean, you look at Dallas.
Yeah, I know, but we're talking about my pick this week and what the what the so I see him giving up a few points. Maybe I'm going to round it into 25-14 Houston. I think Flacco will struggle a little bit down there.
That's what I said last game. That the bill is due, and then he threw for 200 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, but to your point, or either way, even I think Joe would agree that that wasn't the game that he wanted to play. That was I would say he struggled a little bit. Some of those interceptions. I mean, how often you're down 17-7 and you come back like that? I don't think that I don't think that's the position any of the Browns wanted to be in there in the second half. So,
to your question, they've done it more than once this year.
Yes.
Yeah, no, they have. Yeah, no, and I hear the murmuring
seasons,
about
man.
Cardiac Kids 2.0. I hear it.
It's just one of those seasons, man, where things just have a way of working out. It don't mean that you're, that much better. It just means that sometimes the ball rolls your way.
Hey, the one crazy thing about this whole thing, and since Jacksonville, for the most part, the Browns have been in a playoff run. It's about playoffs because if they lose games, they're going to drop in standings, all this kind of stuff. But they've won since then, right? And the crazy thing about this is when it's all said and done, they have the tiebreaker over most of these teams.
Right.
That's amazing.
Over most of these teams, they have the tiebreaker. It's, head-to-head tiebreaker. Denver, I think, is the only one who doesn't have them.
What's in addition to that, looking going forward, and I'd be interested to hear what you guys think. But I think it's interesting. The Browns have the ability to win out, but also they have a chance to lose out as well. Yes. It's crazy.
You know what that's called? Football.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a whole bunch of teams, a whole bunch of people doing shows saying the same damn thing. Like,
well,
think about this. The Dolphins have the Cowboys, the Ravens, and the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
That's their last 3 games. Yep. And we having the same conversation. But that's what makes this unbelievable is that, like, all the confidence you can have in your team, you're looking at the other team going,
right.
Oh, right. So listen, Houston looking at the Browns saying the same stuff we saying.
Well, my point is like if you look at the Giants, their probability of losing out is much higher than the Browns' probability of losing out. I'm saying if you were to rank the teams, if the Vegas were put odds on teams that we're going to either lose out or win out, I think the Browns would be a very high team as far as the odds.
I can go out on a limb and say the only team that I would have faith in that could go undefeated.
Yeah,
and
this is a good question.
And I'm still not sold on this because Baltimore plays San Francisco. So that eliminates both of them.
Oh, yeah, because those are the 2 teams that you would be talking about.
Right. And then the only other team I can think of is Buffalo, but Buffalo got to come to Miami. So this is all, listen, it's all been situated so there's chaos at the end of the football season.
Who does Cincy play next week?
After the Steelers. I'm pretty sure they play the
Steelers. After Pittsburgh, then who do they play?
I don't know. But then they come to Cleveland.
No, Cleveland goes to them.
Cleveland goes to them. Okay.
Yes. And so they could also win out.
Right. But see, even everything that we're talking about right now, we're saying it, but you're not saying it with a whole bunch of confidence because everybody playing each other.
Right.
So I'm not so while we sitting here talking about our team and what the chances are our team, everybody looking at having to play the Browns, everybody looking at they saying the same thing.
And that's why we sitting in the studio the other day and somebody was saying, they can lose this game and it's not going to matter. I said, hell no.
Yeah, no.
Right.
Win this. They need to win this.
Did Cribbs say that?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, he didn't say that.
Is he letting you talk more? Is Cribbs letting you talk more?
Hey, man,
I sent him an email
I
said, "Hey, you gotta let him talk more, brother."
Hey, no, I like to let Josh talk. I like to let him talk.
The check's still the same.
Right.
Don't get paid by the word.
So yes.
Well, looking forward, I think the best thing the Browns have on their schedule is the Jets. I think that's a winnable game. I think 10 games gets them at least the wild card. So whatever happens after that, it'll be interesting to see who the wild card matchup is for the Browns. So
if they stay at the 5, it's still Jacksonville right now.
Yeah,
and they got to go down there. And they got to come to Jacksonville.
Right, and that depends on.
But here's the deal.
Jacksonville.
Here's it's gonna be Jacksonville, Houston. I'd rather play Jacksonville. In order for that to happen,
really?
We gotta go take care of business this week.
Yeah.
What?
Why would you rather play Jacksonville?
Because you know why?
Houston?
Because
Why?
you can go down to Jacksonville and punch them in the mouth. You can't necessarily do that to Houston after already playing them 3 weeks earlier.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Have you ever really punched a guy in the mouth on the field, Leroy? Have you ever close-fisted somebody in the mouth?
No, but
I did it. I punched somebody in the stomach.
Who was it? All right, forget it. Forget it. I don't, you don't have to name names. We'll leave them out. Yeah. What did he do? What did he do?
Hey, I was at Atlanta. They were talking shit. We were playing 49ers, and they were beating the hell out of us. And they were talking shit, and I grabbed dude by his face mask. Oh, I told him, I might lose this game. I ain't gonna lose this fucking fight.
Right. Hey, the cheapest I got with somebody was Romanowski.
Hey,
I caught him standing around the pile on a punt that we kicked off. I was on the punt team, and he was standing around it watching the ball roll. And brother, his helmet hit before any other part of his body hit. He got up. He was spitting all over me, calling me every name in the book. So I did what every respectable linebacker do. I started spitting on him and calling him every name in the book.
hey. And so all the coaches broke it up because it was right before halftime. Then we went to the locker room. We come back out. They kicked the ball to us. First offensive play. The same dude is lined up over me. Thank goodness it's a run to the other side. You would have thought I was a fullback running an ISO block on a backer the way I ran at this dude.
Ooh, remember that time who was the Van Waiters? Remember we got into it at practice?
Oh, yeah.
And they were blowing the whistle and I was blocking his ass down the field. Like,
damn, Van was a big dude, man.
Yeah, I got up underneath his pads and look, they was
keep the feet moving.
Keep the feet moving. I would chop my feet.
That's textbook right there. Keep the feet moving.
Hey, I blocked it for like 30 yards. They say, and then Matt said something stupid. You still got the next play, right?
I remember.
All right, that's a great one to end on. Browns Nation, thank you for listening to Week 15 of In the Dog Pound with your hosts, Leroy Horde, Eric Metcalf, Frank Stams, Mike Tomzak. We'll be, again, next week, we'll be reviewing the Houston game and previewing the Jets game. So thank you again. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks, fellas. Good job.
Peace.
Peace.